Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. We'll chant Om once together. Synchronize the chanting of Om with your exhalation. Breathe in. Sahana vavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, sahaviryam karavavahai, tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently open your eyes. We'll chant from verses 61 to 65 of chapter 2. Tani sarvani sanyamya,
Tani sarvani sanyamya,
yukta asita matparaha,
Yukta asita matparaha,
vashe hi yasyendriyani,
Vashe hi yasyendriyani,
tasya prajna pratisthita,
Tasya prajna pratisthita,
dhyayato vishayan pumsaha,
Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha,
Sangasteshu pajayate,
Sangasteshu pajayate,
Sangat sanjayate kamaha,
Sangat sanjayate kamaha,
Kamat krodho bhijayate,
Kamat krodho bhijayate,
Krodhat bhavati sammohaha,
Krodhat bhavati sammohaha,
Sammohat smriti vibhramaha,
Sammohat smriti vibhramaha,
Smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha,
Smriti bhramshat buddhinashaha,
Buddhinashat pranashyati,
Buddhinashat pranashyati,
Ragadvesha vimuktaistu,
Ragadvesha vimuktaistu,
Vishayanindriyaischaran,
Vishayanindriyaischaran,
Atmavasyairvidheyatma,
Atmavasyairvidheyatma,
Prasadamadigacchati,
Prasadamadigacchati,
Prasade sarvadukhanam,
Prasade sarvadukhanam,
Hanirasyopajayate,
Hanirasyopajayate,
Prasannachetaso hyashu,
Prasannachetaso yashu,
Buddhi paryavatishthate.
Buddhi paryavatishthate.
Hari Om, and a very good day to all of you. So we are doing verse number 64, where he is giving two aspects. One is Atma Vashyai and the other is Vidheyatma. So if you notice, in both, the word Atma is there, the self. Now, why is the word Atma so important? Because your entire life is actually centered around yourself only. The first step in spirituality is withdrawing your center from external factors to your individual self, which is called the Jivatma. No doubt the Jivatma is limited in nature, it is finite. But the centering is very important. When your consciousness is centered on various things outside of you, which means you have become a slave to any aspect of the world. It may be sense objects, it may be name, it may be fame, it may be wealth, it may be relationships, whatever they be. Contacting the world is not wrong, but if your consciousness is centered on any aspect of the world, then you will lose your peace of mind. Whatever happens to the world will happen to you. You will become like a slave. The world will start dictating your happiness. That is, when I say the world will start dictating your happiness, what I mean is whether you have to be happy or not is determined by the external factors. See, you observe your life today. When anything goes wrong outside, immediately you get disturbed. Your mind gets disturbed. Why is that? Now, you have to think deeply. It is easy to say that is what is being natural. That's a common misunderstanding today. It's a very prevalent concept. You know, people have many weaknesses and then they say, isn't it natural? So that way, if you take it, even a murderer who wants to murder, he will say, this is what is natural to me. I feel like murdering, I am murdering. See, if we entertain this sort of a wrong philosophy, it will lead to a stage where you will start justifying all your weaknesses. Your growth will get stunted. See, it is not where you are that matters actually, but what direction are you taking? Whatever level you are in, as long as you are improving day by day, as long as you are becoming a better person day by day, then you're growing spiritually. It is perfectly fine. But at any level, if you stop growing, then there will be stagnation. And if you observe nature, movement is the way of life. Wherever there is stagnation, there is actually decay and death. Running water is very fresh, but where water collects, it will collect a lot of dirt. The breeze which flows is always fresh, but where there is absolutely no breeze, no flow of air, then that is not at all healthy. If you close off all your windows and doors and if you sit there, there is no flow of air. You see, the entire nature is constantly moving. The earth is rotating and revolving. All the planets are revolving. The sun is also, actually, it is stationary with respect to the planets. But the sun itself is actually moving only. If you go to the scriptures, they say the sun moves around another point. They call that point as Vishnu Nabhi. Today the scientists have discovered that the sun also is moving, but it is stationary with respect to the planets. But the entire solar system, there is movement. If you stop movement, that is death. Even if you take your own life, you're constantly moving, time is moving. You can't stop that. So going with the natural flow means you will also have to keep evolving. See, now the examples which I gave about movement were all at the physical level. The same thing is applicable at the spiritual level also. Every day you need to do your sadhana. I keep on saying, no, do your sadhana every day. Don't slacken. Why am I saying every day? Why not it be regularly once in 6 months? You may ask me that. The reason is, every day you should keep evolving. The moment you stop evolving, it's not that, see, at 30% level, now I'll stop my sadhana, I'll stop growing. So it is not that I'll continue to remain at 30%. Slowly, as I told you, if there is no movement, it will start gathering dirt. It will start decaying, just as the stagnant water. Similarly, when you start stagnating spiritually, the mind will start acquiring a lot of stress and agitations. Quickly you will start devolving. So you need to be very careful. So when we talk of spiritual growth, the potential for spiritual growth can happen only when you're centered on your Atma. When the Atma or the soul is limited, we call it Jivatma, the limited soul, the individual soul. When you expand your soul and when it becomes infinite, we call it the Paramatma. The entire journey is moving from Jivatma to Paramatma. Actually, Arjuna represents the Jivatma. Krishna represents the Paramatma within you. The entire Bhagavad Gita, which is a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, is nothing but a conversation between your own Paramatma, the infinite within you, to the finite aspect within you. The entire guidance which is being given is not to Arjuna externally, but it is to the Jivatma, which you are right now. So the starting point of spirituality is pulling your consciousness from the external world and centering it on the self, on the Atman, Jivatman. What do we mean by centering? You need to understand that in a little more depth. See, whenever you have an office, let us say, you're running an office. Now, it is your own business, your own office, and you have various, it's a huge building, and you have hundreds of employees who are working for you, various departments are there, all that is there, but you are seated in one cabin, in your room. Now that room becomes the center from where you are operating. So you may not even sit there. You may keep walking from this department to that department. All that thing may be there. But from where are you essentially operating? From your room. Even if you take a country, the whole country is there, but all the laws, all the rules, everything, the administration, everything happens from the capital of the country. That doesn't mean the capital alone is a country, but the center of operations is the capital of a country. If you take the parliament building, that becomes a center of the government to function. That doesn't mean the government is not functioning throughout the country, but the centering is there. So in the ancient wisdom, when they said you should center yourself in the Atman, immediately people took it to mean that you should not function in the world, you should not contact the world. That is not what they are saying at all. You have been born in this world, you have to contact the world. You cannot escape. Show me any point outside the world where you can go. Even if you go to the forest, that is also one aspect of the world only. But the center of your operations, where is it? When you are attached to money, I am giving an example. A person whose consciousness is attached to money, now money will become the center of his life, which means he has moved away from his Atman, from his self. We are not even talking of the Paramatman here, the infinite. I am only talking of the individual self. He has moved away from the self and he has pegged his consciousness onto money. He is centered on money. Once he becomes centered on money, thereafter what will happen is that everything which he does will be based on money only. That becomes a reference point for him to function. So, if he gets into a relationship, he'll be very calculative. He is earning. Now he likes a girl, let us say. Now he will tell the girl, you should also earn this much, then only we both can get married. Even though he likes her, even though he loves her, he will always be calculative. The money factor becomes the most important factor for him. If he gives birth to a child, now every step which he takes which he, every step he takes, in the sense whatever he does for the child will all be done in a very calculative way. It is not only relationships like a wife and or spouse. See, when I say wife, that's only an example. So it's applicable for a lady also, husband. Not only those kinds of relationships, but even friends. Everything which he takes, he will only be calculative. Even if he comes to this yogic approach, he will start calculating. Very interesting. Similarly, supposing, let us say, a person's consciousness is pegged on to name and fame, then he becomes completely centered there. His consciousness becomes centered there. Thereafter, everything which he does will be centered on getting some kind of name or fame within a small circle. He will constantly try to impress others. He will go and help others, but when he is helping others, his focus will actually not be on helping the other person. His focus will be on getting a good name by helping that person. Supposing a lady is a housewife, homemaker, and she is cooking. If her consciousness is centered on name and fame, then all the cooking she'll be doing only to get appreciation from others. In your office, when you're working, you will only be looking for appreciation from others. Relationships, you will be looking for appreciation. You will want to impress others. You will be willing to spend a lot of money provided you get appreciation. Such people have that, it's very easy to get things done by them. All you need to do is just to praise them. Then they'll do anything for you. That is a weakness. Wherever your consciousness is centered, that becomes the main thing in your life. That becomes a reference point. So when your reference point is outside you, it is in some aspect of the world, then that object or that aspect of the world will start controlling you. This is very, very clearly seen in terms of extreme intoxication, like when a person becomes an alcoholic, let us say, or a drug addict. Then it becomes very clear to you, because alcohol or the drug becomes the center of his life. He will be willing to forego his wealth, his relationships, everything for the sake of alcohol or the drug which he is addicted to. So when it comes to extreme addictions, it's easy for you to understand. But when it comes to other things, you're finding it difficult to understand. This principle is the same. So what they are saying is, Atma Vashyaihi means pulling the center, pulling your center from outside and resting it on the Atman, Jivatman. See, I am giving you the deeper meaning of Atma Vashyai and Vidheyatma today. As I told you, according to whatever you're able to receive, I am slowly opening the entire wisdom for you to absorb and benefit. So in order to center on yourself, you need to pull back your consciousness. So what is the sadhana? First, you need to find out what is your present center in life. Are you centered around money? Are you centered around name and fame? Constantly are you wanting to impress others? Are you centered around work? For some people, they become workaholics. Just as you have alcoholic, they've coined a term called workaholic. Workaholic means work becomes the center of such a person's life. Then that person cannot be without work. Everything is related only to work. That becomes a reference point. Are you centered around pleasure, sensual pleasures? Then that becomes your main reference point. You will be willing to forego all other things for the sake of pleasure. Are you centered around relationships? Even among relationships, you may be centered around relationship towards friends. I know a man, for him, his friends only mean everything. He will do anything for them. So one day what happened is his child was sick, and there was an emergency, and the wife called him because the child had to be taken to the hospital, and he was having a nice time with his friends. He was in the midst of a party, and when the wife called him, he picked up the phone and she said, "It's a very dangerous situation, so we need to take the child to the hospital." Now he coolly said, "You take her to the hospital, I'll join you later." She took her daughter to the hospital, and there was so much of stress which she had to go through, the mother. And this man, he came after many hours only, after the party got over. Why? Why did he behave in that fashion? Because his center was on friends. So generally I am saying relationships, but even among relationships, see, if you're centered around your spouse, then nothing else will matter. Or you may be centered, your center may be on your children. Your center may be on your degrees, the external degrees which you get. I know some people who go on getting degrees, and somehow, sometimes they try crooked means also just to get some degree so that they can tell people, see, these are my qualifications. Very interesting. So you need to find out what your center is. And from there, when you start shifting your center from whatever it is outside to yourself, to your Jivatman, that is called Atma Vashyaihi. And once you become centered in the Jivatman, now comes the ascension, the expansion of the individual self to the infinite. That is becoming Vidheyatma. There is a beautiful flow here. If you are in a hurry, you will miss the flow. Sometimes when you look at the sky, the clouds, they will just look ordinary. But when you keep on looking, when you keep on staring, after a while you will locate a particular pattern. And the pattern may be that of a bird, a beautiful bird. And you will say, hey, look, that shape is there. It looks exactly like a bird. Now what is interesting is you keep looking at it for some more time, you will spot some other pattern. Even if you observe a flame, when you keep on looking at it for a while, you'll start seeing different patterns. Very interesting. But if you are in a hurry, you will miss all that beauty. So similarly, if you are in a hurry to rush through these verses, to finish these verses, you will miss the flow, that yogic flow, that energy which the master is giving. So what is the flow? First comes Atma Vashyai. So in the very first line he said, Ragadvesha Vimuktaistu Vishayan Indriyaischaran. Free from likes and dislikes, but moving among sense objects. That is the sadhana which needs to be done. The preparation in order to shift your center. And then Atma Vashyaihi means you shift the center from the world to yourself. What does it mean by shifting the center from the world to yourself? Fixing your ultimate purpose of life as self-purification. 100% self-purification is self-realization. That is Vidheyatma, expansion of self. But unless and until you fix the goal of self-purification, self-development, you will not grow spiritually. The moment you fix your goal as self-development, I want to become a better person, then every day you will start improving. Nature will come and support you. See, it is not without a reason that you're watching this now. Your ichha, your desire to improve yourself, your desire to make your life better is what is making you watch this right now. If you don't have that, it will not, you will not sustain this. You will watch it casually and you will go away. Now, having now started this process, now crystallize it. Fix a clear-cut goal. Your ultimate goal is not to merely earn money. Your ultimate goal is not to merely earn some name and fame. Your ultimate goal is not to just form relationships or to do some work or to progress in careers. These are all relative goals. But first you need to fix what is your ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is of, again, 2 steps. First is self-improvement, self-development, self-purification. Different words we can use. So the moment you fix your goal as self-purification or self-development, it means now you have shifted the center of your life from the world to the Atman, the Jivatman. And thereafter, you will still be contacting the world. You will acquire money. You will acquire, a name and fame. Automatically, it will come to you if you do quality work. You will continue to work in your career, progress in your career. You will continue to have relationships. All these things will be there. You will have relative goals, different roles. You will have all that we saw, no? Everything you will do. But you will do all these things in order to improve yourself, in order to become a better person. With all these experiences, day by day, you will start growing. See, sometimes I find people go through their life 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, but their maturity level remains the same. That should not be the case for a sadhak. Life means growth. So that is Atma Vashyaihi. And once you fix your goal as self-development, thereafter, you will automatically start doing your sadhana and you will start expanding your self. The individual self, which is very limited today, limited to the body, limited to the emotions, limited to your ideologies and ideas which you've picked up from society, all those things will start expanding. If you take up to spirituality without centering your consciousness on self-development, what will happen is the very same knowledge of spirituality will now become a block. It will condition your consciousness. It will start limiting yourself. These are the people who talk about my religion, your religion, my God, your God, which God is superior. They start differentiating in the name of these principles. It means, no doubt they are in touch with the wisdom, but their center is still lying outside. So they have not put effort in this direction. Atma Vashyahi, they have not done that. So the same wisdom which is supposed to purify themselves, instead of purifying them, it starts creating more issues. Many people who come in contact with the scriptural text, whatever, whichever part of the world they are in, whatever language, when they come in contact with the scriptures, are they using that to purify themselves, or are they using that to get into another cocoon? Are they using that to limit themselves more? The moment you say, I am a Hindu, I am a Christian, I am whatever be the religion, the moment you feel that, it means you're limiting the infinite consciousness to that finite boundary, using that the boundary of whatever concept that is. So that is why the great yogis, what they say is that it is not the number of scriptures which you have mastered that matters. It is where is your focus. Is your focus on self-improvement, self-purification, or not? So practice of Atma Vashyahi can be done by fixing this goal very clearly in your life. Actually, whether you fix it or not, if you just observe nature, you find the entire nature is moving forward. That is why I started off this discourse in explaining how the entire nature is moving. There is a natural evolution which is happening. A human being alone has the capacity to consciously evolve or devolve. All other creatures, they don't have this capacity. They neither devolve nor will they evolve. I'm not talking of physical evolution here. I'm talking of the spiritual evolution. Physically, yes, there is a natural process. But spiritually, you will have to choose. So let your goal be that of self-improvement. And when I'm saying let your goal be of that, it is not that I'm taking from somewhere and trying to thrust it into your mind. Deep within you, that is what you're also looking for. You want to better yourself. You want to better your life. Every expression of yours is always to get something better. Why is it that you're earning wealth? Because you want to better your financial position. Why is it that you form relationships? Because you want to better that aspect of life. So this tendency to wanting to better your life is always there. You're not recognizing that. So you're trying to better everything outside, but you have forgotten that primarily you need to better yourself. If you don't better yourself, if you're only bettering the world, you've made the world a wonderful place to live in, but the individual is completely neglected, then what is the use? It is like having all the comforts, you have wonderful food, everything, but you are not having the capacity to eat, some problem with your digestion. But the best of foods you're having in front of you. That is the situation today. You're having a wonderful world. When I say wonderful world, see how much of advancement has happened technologically. It's amazing. Just if you take a cell phone, earlier to communicate to someone who is traveling and all that, you needed to write a letter, and it used to take a certain amount of time. Long distance phone calls was a big thing those days. Those days means what I'm talking of 25 years back, 30 years back. You used to book a trunk call, and then at a particular time the phone will ring, and you pick it up and the line will not be so clear. It was like that. But now the world itself has shrunk. From any part of the world to any part of the world you can communicate. So much of advancement is happening externally. But proportionately, the inner advancement has been left out. That is why, in spite of so much of advancement, we are all more unhappy. The stress factor is also very high. One scientist asked me this question long back. He said, so the world is advancing so much in terms of technology, but why is it that the stress is increasing? Because with all this, isn't it logical that happiness should increase? This is the reason. Because only one aspect is being developed. The other aspect is completely left out. So when you combine this ancient wisdom with the modern wisdom deals with the world, the worldly wisdom. Whether it's modern or ancient, we're talking about the worldly wisdom. So one is the worldly wisdom and the other is wisdom of yourself. So when you combine these two only, the quality of your life will improve. One alone without the other will not work. So Atma Vashyai, shifting your center by fixing this goal of self-development. Every day, are you becoming a better person? Ask yourself, when you go to sleep in the night every day, ask yourself, what have I done today? What did I do yesterday and what have I done today? Have I become a better person? Have I taken one more step towards becoming a master of my own weaknesses? Whatever areas I am having issues, have I taken one more step towards progress? If the answer is yes, then you are in the right direction. If the answer is no, then you are just wasting your time. And remember, as I told you last week, time is the ultimate victor. It keeps on moving. So without your knowledge, suddenly, you will be at the fag end of your life. At that time, if you sit and think, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, there is no use. So utilize this moment, this minute, this hour, this day, which has been given to you, productively. When I say productively externally and productively internally. The worldly success and the spiritual growth, both are important. So Atma Vashyaihi, and then Vidheyatma, one who has achieved self-mastery. Complete self-mastery is when you go on expanding your Atman, the individual self. When you go on expanding, then it merges with the infinite. Such a person is called Videya Atma. So one who has practiced these two, Atma Vashyai and Videya Atma. As I told you, the key there is in that word Atman, the self. So one who has made the self as the center of his life, such a person, he says, attains peace. Prasadam adhi gacchati. What a beautiful construction, what a beautiful flow, See, this is called classical living. For a person who has got trained in classical singing, non-classical singing will be difficult. When I'm saying will be difficult, there will be no depth in that. For a person who is not trained in classical singing will be difficult. It's a non-classical music will be easy. It's the same thing with respect to life also. Any art you take, a person who puts in that effort diligently and learns to progress in that art in a classical way, in a pure way, that person will have quality, will have depth with respect to that art. So living itself is actually like an art only. So when you put in the effort in this way, as time passes by, you will start gaining that depth in life. Your life will have a meaning. Today, what is the meaning of your life? Is life merely for just attending parties and earning some money, forming some relationships, and getting some name, fame, and that's it? Your life is ended. Is it merely that? No. There is much, much more to life. Again, I'm not against all this. All these are also a part of your life, but they all form the periphery of your life. It's like, supposing you go to see, let us say, a place like, for example, you go to see the Mysore Palace, or you go to Jaipur to see the palace there. Now, as you enter itself, it will be so beautiful. So the surroundings will be so wonderful. Therefore, your entire time you are only there. You never go inside and explore the palace fully. 3 hours you had planned in order to explore the palace, but entire 3 hours you've only been around the palace, because that itself was so nice. That's what is happening to you in your life. Your life is meant for exploration. First, the periphery, which is what is there in the periphery of your life. Various external things like wealth, sense objects, relationships, work, name and fame, power, position. You can go on adding. But then when you cross that, you will find more beauty. When you go more inside yourself, as you start doing your sadhana and expanding your consciousness, more and more depth will be added on to your life. In yoga, I'm talking of the physical aspect in the Hiranyagarbha yoga system. A person starts off with a physical movement, but a master, the moment he sees a person doing the movements, he will be able to exactly pinpoint and say whether that person is doing it physically or whether that person is doing it with pran shakti. or whether he is using further higher energies to do the same movement. As he gets connected more and more to the higher, and when he does the same movement, there is that grace, there is that energy flow. So Videya Atma is one who has mastered this living, which is an art, and he has brought that grace. Just as a musician, when he plays his instrument, when I say a musician, a master of that instrument, when he or she plays that instrument, that is a treat to watch, it is a treat to hear, that the grace is there. Similarly, whatever a spiritual person does, it is very, very graceful. So such a person, prasadam adhigacchati, he attains peace, he says. So prasadam has basically three dimensions. I am referring to three dimensions of prasadam which will be very, very useful to you. There are more things also, but first you need to focus on these three. The first meaning of prasadam, prasadam means calmness. It means tranquility, peace. That is what we have translated it as here, peace. It means composure of mind. So throughout your life, what are you looking for? You're only looking for this peace and calmness. Everything which you do is directed towards getting more peace. Even when you contact the sense objects, you feel that sense object can give you that happiness, it can make you more peaceful. If you don't have that hope, you will never contact a sense object. Supposing something will cause you pain, why would you do that? Some people voluntarily take up pain knowing that that temporary pain will give them peace and happiness later on. Like if you take exercises, no doubt there's a lot of pain when you do those exercises. Any sattvic habit actually is quite difficult to start with. But that person does it because he or she knows that later on it will become very enjoyable. So throughout your life you're looking for this peace, and he says that peace is right within you, and you can get that peace, that calmness of mind by becoming a Videya Atma. Whatever principles are being given every week, just start practicing them. Then the peace of mind which you have lost today will automatically start coming back to you. It is not that it is coming from somewhere externally. It is there right within you. But that peace or tranquility today has been disturbed. Just as when water is still, and then you take some stones and you start throwing it on water, the water becomes very disturbed. So how to make it still? You don't need to do anything. Actually, you need to stop throwing stones. So when you stop throwing stones, slowly, the disturbed water will start settling down, and after a while, it will become absolutely still, tranquil. The same thing with respect to your mind also. What are the stones which you're throwing, which is ruining your peace of mind? That is what we have been seeing. Even in the previous verses also we have been seeing the ladder of fall. And then here also, he's saying rise above the likes, and it's the various principles he's giving. Those are all ways by which you're actually doing the sadhana to not to add on to the disturbance of the mind. When you keep doing the sadhana thus, slowly, slowly the mind will settle down. It will become more tranquil. So any sadhak who's doing his or her sadhana as per the instructions of the Guru, he or she will find that the mind starts becoming more tranquil and calm. Observe your mind. If you're doing your sadhana, observe your mind, what it was 1 year back, what is it now. You would have definitely become more peaceful. When your goal is the infinite, sometimes you tend to be very harsh on yourself. You say, after so many years of sadhana also I am disturbed. It's not like that. When you compare yourself with what you were in the past, you would have definitely improved. The condition of your mind, the calmness of your mind would have 100% increased. That is the effect of sadhana. So the first dimension of prasadam is calmness. As you see, these are also yardsticks for spiritual development. How do you know whether you are developing spiritually or not? If you're more calm in life, it means you're becoming more spiritual. This doesn't mean you forcefully suppress your agitations and you try to act as if you're calm. No, I'm talking of the deep, deep sense of peace which you feel within you. You see, you see a baby, the vasanas, the agitations have not yet started manifesting. As the baby grows, only whatever its impressions start coming out. When you see a baby, absolutely peaceful. That's why the baby sleeps very peacefully. A spiritual person also becomes like that. There is no difference between a spiritual person and a baby. Internally, very, very pure and peaceful. So you will also start becoming like that. Number one. Number two, prasadam means clearness. This is with respect to the intellect. When your mind becomes peaceful, that is not enough. Your intellect should also be very clear. The clarity of thinking should be there. In the next verse, in verse number 65, we will be seeing these two aspects in more detail, because he will actually be referring to this. See, when we talk of calmness or peace, there are two kinds of peace. One is tamasic peace. Tamas is the lowest quality, and then you have rajas, which is passion, activity, agitation, and then you have the highest quality of sattva. Now, when he says prasadam, he is talking of sattvic peace. But the opposites always look alike. A tamasic person will mimic a sattvic person. When you are unreactive in life, it will look as if you are very peaceful. Some people, they are highly unreactive. They are too lazy to react. That should not be mistaken for the prasadam. So how do you know whether you are being tamasic or sattvic when it comes to peace of mind? Some people, even some emergency may be there. Like I told you, that man, he was in a party enjoying. His wife called him saying that her daughter is sick and she needs to be taken to the hospital. Very peacefully he was saying, you take her to the hospital, I'll come after a while. He continued to enjoy and he left after a few hours. Is that a sattvic state? Is that a spiritual state? No. That is a tamasic state. It is a state of irresponsibility. So how do you know? How do you find out whether your the spirituality which you are exhibiting, is it tamasic, which is actually not spirituality, or is it true spirituality, which is sattva? How do you find out? Simple yardstick. If your peaceful in the sattvic sense, the next dimension, which is clearness of the intellect, will also automatically come. You will be able to think clearly. Your decision making will become very, very sharp. Your clarity will increase. Your ability to assess people, assess situations will all increase. If you're peaceful, in quotes, that is in a tamasic way, which means you are unreactive, then your thinking faculty will not become clear. You will have no thinking at all. A person who is rajasic, his thinking will be muddled. A person who is tamasic will not think at all. Like that person was unable to think. His own child has to be admitted in the hospital. Should I continue in the party? That thought itself never came. So all these qualities which are being given here, if you misunderstand them, you may slip into tamas. If you rightly understand them, you will get into the state of sattva. So you need to be careful. That is why I wanted to take both these dimensions of prasadam together. You know, sometimes a person claims that he is very peaceful, but his peace actually irritates others. Why? That is not true peace. If you're truly, truly peaceful and calm from inside, the energy which you will be radiating will have such a calming effect on others that they will also start becoming peaceful. But if you're being highly irresponsible, tamasic in the name of peace, then that will cause disturbance outside. That's why when in the later chapters, when he gives the 20 qualities of a jnani, then the 35 qualities of a bhakta and all that, the two qualities he gives, very, very interesting. He says, one who is not agitated by the world, which means he is very peaceful. And then one who does not agitate the world. Agitating need not mean after expression. What kind of energy are you radiating? When you go within the aura of a master, you will find your mind calming down. So in the name of sadhana, don't become more tamasic. Many people tell me that I've been doing a lot of sadhana, but my family members, other family members, they are dead against my doing sadhana. Why is it that, sir? They think something is wrong with the family members. Then I tell them, no. If you're doing your sadhana properly, actually your family members should start becoming more happy with you, because you will start conducting yourself in such a way, your intellect will become more clear. When your intellect becomes clear, you will exactly know what your duties are, and you will start performing all your duties in your family to perfection. So they will all start loving you. They'll start supporting you in your sadhana. But if you're doing your sadhana every day, so-called sadhana, I'm putting it in quotes, but then what is the outcome of the sadhana? You're only becoming more lazy. You're not doing your duties properly. Then naturally your spouse, your children, all of them will go against your sadhana. See, everywhere we want to prove that the problem is with others only. But if only you can become centered on the Atman, locate where things are going wrong inside and make the correction there, then you will evolve very fast. So such a person will, number one, become very, very calm, tranquil, And number two, he will get the clearness or clarity of the intellect. Now, when your mind is calm, when you have this clarity of the intellect, then incidentally you can achieve tremendous success in life. Your ability to use whatever knowledge, whatever skills you have effectively depends on these two factors only. However knowledgeable you may be, how much ever knowledgeable you may be, whatever be your skills, if your mind is not calm, you will not be able to use them effectively. If your intellect is not clear, your decision making is not okay, then you will land in some problem or other. So that is the meaning of prasadam, calmness at the mind level, tranquility, clearness at the intellectual level. What a powerful combination that is. Then the third dimension of prasadam, which is very, very important from the sadhana point of view. Prasadam also means a favor, a gift. So what does he mean by prasadam adhigacchati? It means once you grow spiritually, you will get more gifts in life. Literally, if you take it literally, that is not what he means. When he talks of favor or gift, what he means is your life is a gift given by God to you. Your entire life, every little thing which you are enjoying today, it is a gift from the higher, but you hardly recognize it. Prasadam means considering everything which you get in life as a gift from God. A Vidheyatma naturally gets into that state. You know, when you go to a temple, they perform all the pujas, everything, and finally they give you what is called as prasadam. Usually some sweet is given, or something, sometimes some other dish is also given. Some food item is usually given as prasadam. They call it prasadam. So you're supposed to eat a little bit of that in the temple. Finish your meditation there. After the worship is over, sit in a quiet place, meditate, and then you're supposed to partake of that prasadam, which has been the prasadam, the gift from God, and then come out. One of the important rule while taking that prasadam is, whatever be the taste of that food, you should enjoy it. If supposing that prasadam has more sweet in it, you should not complain and say it's too much sweet. Or let us say some other dish has been given where it is very too much of chili is there. You should not say too much of chili is there or no salt is there. No complaints whatsoever. Whatever be the prasadam which is given to you, the food which is given to you, you are supposed to eat it as a prasadam, that is as a gift from God. Be happy with it and come out. This is the rule which has been set. Why has that rule been kept? It is a small practice. And that practice is not to be confined in the temple. It is to stop your complaining attitude in life. It is a practice of gratitude. Whatever be the results in your life, whatever it is that you're getting in life, if you can get into this mode of considering it as a prasadam, as a gift, as a favor from God, then you will become very peaceful. If you are taking the prasadam in the temple, whatever it's coming from God, and you feel and you have it, and then when you come home, if you're complaining about something, if food is not okay, this is not okay, that is not okay, something or other you're complaining about, then you have missed the whole point. See, these kind of practices were given to common people so that they absorb the deeper principles of sadhana in a very simple manner. For you all, when you're doing, when you've gotten into the deeper sadhana, that is the yoga sankirtan and the practice of these principles through the yogic approach, these rituals may not be required for you, but at the same time it is interesting to know what is the significance of these rituals. See, they didn't keep it without a purpose. For a common person, that is a very simple way of absorbing this principle. So every time you go to a temple and you take some prasadam, now don't look at what prasadam it is. Some people, they do that. I know many people who say, I just love going to Tirupati Balaji temple, because that laddu which they give, I tell you, that is so divine. And then I've seen them making a comparison. That laddu which they give in Balaji temple, in no other temple I've found that kind of a taste. See, you're putting in all the effort to go from your place, and you've climbed the hills, and you're going in, to a place which is so powerful, full of energy. All that you're doing, and ultimately where is your mind? It is on that food, that sweet laddu which they are giving, Then you miss the whole spirit. So sometimes it may be of this taste, sometimes it may be of that taste. The idea is to eat it with full satisfaction. So similarly, sometimes in life, certain experiences may be very pleasurable, certain experiences may not be so pleasurable. Some results may be good, some results may be negative. Like this, so many experiences you will go through in life. Whatever it is that you're going through, whatever it is that you're having today, take it as a prasadam, as a gift from the Supreme. If you're having a lot of riches, let us say you're a very wealthy person, you have a lot of money with you, crores and crores of money, you have all the comforts. Now don't become arrogant with that. Instead, take that as a gift from God. Supposing you tell me, no sir, I don't have so much of wealth. Something you will have. Even if you have a small pen with you, take it as a gift of God. See, it is in that bhavana, it is in that attitude. The moment you get into an analysis of what the taste of that food is in the temple, then your mind is moving away from the prasadam bhavana. So the practice of prasadam, we get from this dimension. How is it that a person's mind becomes calm? How is it that a person's intellect becomes very clear? It's because he practices this sadhana of considering everything, every object, supposing you're married, that is a prasadam, gift from God. If you're doing your work, that is a gift from God. Why all this? When you go on practicing this, a time would come where the moment you start breathing, you will consider the very breath itself as a gift from God. Then you will have no complaints whatsoever. Today your life is full of complaints. This is not okay, that is not okay. This person did this to me, this person did that to me. My parents didn't earn a lot of wealth for me. Why? You have the human body, you have your talents. Why can't you earn wealth? No, you will have to complain. The mind loves to, keep complaining. When is it that you will complain? When your center is outside, then you will be in a complaining mode. When your center turns on towards the Atman within you, then your complaints will start reducing. A spiritual person, a sadhak, if you're a true sadhak, your complaints will start reducing in life. And when your complaints reduce, your mind will automatically start becoming calm. If you want to complain, there are enough things to complain about. A yogi is one, even when he's all alone sitting, no possessions, nothing, let us say, he's just sitting all alone by himself, he is just enjoying his breath. How do we know? You're breathing in and breathing out. How do we know that we can take the next breath? That may be the last breath, no? I'm not instilling fear in your mind. I'm only saying, isn't it a fact? So as soon as we breathe out, again we breathe in. It's a gift. One more breath has been given to us. Every day is a gift given by God. When you wake up early in the morning, just sit for a few minutes and offer your gratitude to that Supreme. One more day has been given to you. So in every situation, develop this prasadam attitude, the bhavana of considering it as a gift of God. When you do that, what will happen is, you will attract the higher grace, the grace of the infinite. The grace of the infinite is universally present. It is that grace which protects some small creature in a place which is full of snow by giving that creature a little more fur on the body. It is that same grace, same infinite grace which is making you breathe right now, which is providing you with so many things in life. That grace is universal. But when you're full of ego, when you're full of complaints in life, you don't allow that infinite grace to flow into your life. Just as the sunlight is there outside, but you put the curtains and you close the windows, the sunlight will not enter. The breeze will not come. Similarly, you put your curtains, you close your windows, inner windows through the ego and complaints, then the infinite grace will stop flowing. So as you open yourself up by practicing the prasadam, the sadhana of prasadam, what will happen is you will get into the state of prasadam. See, one is the practice of prasadam, which is whatever I explained till now. That is considering everything as a gift of God. When you keep on practicing that, you will get into a state of prasadam. State of prasadam means you will attract the infinite grace into your life. Thereafter, everything which you do will become so graceful, will gather immense power, immense Shakti, energy. Whatever you touch will become gold. Means everything which you do in life will be so fulfilling, so purposeful. So, prasadam adhigacchati, he attains that grace. So, when you practice the sadhana properly, then automatically the universal grace, infinite grace which is there, will start flowing into your life. When you don't practice your sadhana, that is when you try all kinds of means to try and get a favor from God. You try to please God also. I know people who do a lot of pujas and rituals, thinking that if I do all this, God will give me more wealth. God will give more name, more fame. Some people even enter into business contracts with God. They, tell God, as it were. They say, I will, you do this for me, and I will give you so much of money I will offer this much to you. I know many people who do such things. How foolish it is. That God whom the great yogis are talking about, it is the infinite power. It is that power which has created you. It is that power which sustains you. You mean to say that power requires something from you? Nothing. It is dropping your ego and dropping all your complaints and just feeling the presence of that infinite power and allowing that grace to come into your life. It is in that supreme practice, that you will become peaceful, you will become spiritual, you will become godly. God means that supreme satisfaction, purnam, completeness. Okay, so we'll stop with that today. It was a very inspiring session, isn't it? Every week is so inspiring. Actually, I'm not a speaker in the sense like speaking to an audience and all that. Just to read these verses and get into the depth of these verses gives so much of happiness, gives so much of inspiration and pleasure, and whatever comes out, that is being shared. So before we do the meditation, I will just take a couple of questions which have come. These are quite important, relevant questions. So Hari Om Guruji, my question pertains to the previous discourse. You had mentioned about Atma Vashya, to be someone who has his reactions and responses under control. They choose it. Is this not contradictory to flowing with the energy, being in the situation? Because what naturally comes to you is how you react. Is it really possible to always operate from such level of peace that one can choose peaceful reactions? Does that not become a disturbing factor for both the parties? Seeking more clarity on the point described above. Regards, Sakshi. So Sakshi has asked this question. It's a very, very useful question which she has asked. This will be useful for all the sadhaks. So when I was talking about this Atma Vashya, I think last week I did mention a person who's able to choose his or her reactions. Like supposing a person insults you, immediately your mind will get agitated. This is one kind of reaction, and a response can come out of that. But a spiritual person has trained the mind in such a way that whether the reaction, the input which is thrown at him or her is positive or negative, the internal reaction will be positive and the response will be suitable. Now, to which the question which has been asked is that really possible? Now, see, before you ask a question of whether something is possible or not, you should put in enough effort in that direction. See, you see a person who is playing an instrument, like let's take the violin. a person who has put in 12 years of effort in that, he's playing so beautifully. Now you just take the violin and you try to play. You get all discordant notes. It will not be music. It will be such noise coming out when you play. So you go and ask him. He says, no, you have to hold it like this. You keep playing. So then the beautiful melodies can be played. To which immediately you ask, is that really possible to play such peaceful and beautiful music with the violin? Of course it's possible. But in order to say whether it is possible or not, you should put in that kind of effort which that person has put in, or at least which that person is asking you to put. Without putting in any effort, to say that, oh, I'm not able to play the violin properly, means of course you will not be able to play the violin properly. So as I mentioned last week, the negative reactions and an agitated way of life is being taken as being natural today. That's why I gave the example of a violin, or you take the example of a flute. When you first take and play it, nothing will come. But when you train yourself, after a while, you just place the flute and you blow, wonderful music will come. That becomes very natural. So, being natural and going with the flow of life should not be used as a justification of one's weaknesses. No, it's a very good point which Sakshi has asked when she says, isn't it contradictory to going with the flow? So going with the flow of a situation doesn't mean you're a slave to the situation. Tomorrow a person may come and offer you drugs. I'm going with the flow, so you take the drugs and you become a drug addict. Why? Sir Yogishri, you only told me. The Bhagavad Gita's clear messages, go with the flow. So I went with the flow. That is tamasic. Fortunately, I covered that today. The tamas will mimic sattva. So we have to clearly understand what is being natural. So for an animal, having no control over the emotions is natural, but a human being's potential is much, much more. You have the potential to become a complete master of yourself. So only when you achieve that potential, you're being natural. It is natural for a child to behave in a particular way, but as you grow up, still if you are childish, being childlike is positive. That is being pure. But if you are being childish, that is not being natural. If you are let us say, if you are doing a degree in a university, now supposing a high school student, if you bring him to the university, now he may make some mistakes while solving some problems. That is natural for him. But you have crossed that level, and now once you go to the university, now you will have to train yourself to perfect solving those problems. This is just an example I am giving. Then that becomes natural for you. So going with the flow means surrendering to that totality, not surrendering your efforts, but surrendering your ego. Going with the flow doesn't mean now you start going with the flow of your weaknesses, things which are harmful to you. Supposing a girl likes a boy, but the boy does not want the relationship. Now if the girl gets an obsession over that boy, this is only natural to me, she will have to suffer. The converse also, if the boy becomes obsessed with the girl, he will have to suffer. So apply this wisdom, absorb this wisdom and apply it in the right sense. Then only you will get back your peace of mind. Ask yourself, is this experience, will this give me peace of mind? Will this action of mine make me more peaceful, or will it harm me more? Before getting into anything, am I getting into something which can harm me? So reacting in a negative way, is this going to increase my peace or is it going to increase my agitations? Obviously, it's going to increase agitations. So that is not what is being prescribed. So a good question. I have already answered that when I was talking about tamas and sattva. So all these principles when you misunderstand them, you will become tamasic. You will start justifying your weaknesses with this philosophy. But when you understand them rightly, you will be able to apply them in your life and evolve. Okay, the other questions I'll take up the coming weeks. Now we'll have meditation. Gently close your eyes. Do deep breathing. Inhale fully. Exhale completely. With every breath, I'm going deeper and deeper into myself. I choose to withdraw my consciousness from the world outside me and center it on the Atman, the self within me. My goal is self-purification, self-development. Every day, in every way, I am becoming better and better. From this moment onwards, I choose to develop the bhavana, the attitude of prasadam. I consider every aspect of my life as a gift given by God Supreme. I am immensely grateful to that infinite being for every little thing which I get in life. I will go on purifying myself till the individual self expands and becomes one with the infinite. Oh. Offer your gratitude to God Supreme. Offer your gratitude to your Guru and all the holy masters. Slowly come back, wriggle your fingers, your toes, rub your palms together to create a warmth. Cup your eyes with your palms. Gently rub your eyes, your cheeks, forehead, the top of the head, the back of the head, and neck. And slowly open your eyes. Welcome back. So today we had a very powerful and inspiring session. Reflect on these points, put them in the comment section. That will give you a lot of clarity, and in case there are any mistakes, it also gives you're giving yourself the opportunity of getting corrected. And then during the week also, whenever you get time, you can revisit the discourse. How many ever times you want, that's going to be there. So whenever you get time to soak yourself in these ideas, slowly it will start penetrating into the deeper layers of your personality. There is one more thing which I wanted to mention. Many people have been sending a lot of mails regarding their wonderful experiences, their benefits of that 22-day program which we had. So if you can fill up the research form which is available in the website, it will be useful for the doctors and scientists to study the effects, the positive effects of this wisdom. They require a kind of evidence, a lot of evidences. That's the way the modern approach is. Even others, those who may not have attended the 22-day course, but who are regularly watching the Sunday discourses, whatever benefits you have gained, if you can fill that up in the research form, it will be useful for future generations, because once they are able to study the effects in their way, whatever way they want, and they are able to establish the cause and effect, then they will be able to promote this among the scientific community also. So this will reach more people, this will benefit more people. That's the whole idea. So do it with that bhavana. See, when something good has happened to you, you should always share it with everyone. We generally want to share all our sorrows, So do that. And another thing is, a few people have asked about the sadhana material of the 22-day program. 10 meditations had been given. Whether they can play it to their children and all that. See, if somebody is not registered, you cannot do that. This is meant for only those sadhaks who got empowered. And have a personal copy for yourself. If 2 people have come for the course, means 2 individual copies are required. You have to download, because I have energized it in such a way. So when you share the sadhana material, the energy gets dissipated after a while. So you form, see that those are your tools, and you're going to form a special relationship with the sadhana material itself. That's very important. Okay, so we'll continue next week. Thank you very much.